Hey friends, welcome back. Today we're jumping right back into some entitled people stories. An HOA Karen decided a retired man's quiet hobby was an illegal nightclub. And she bragged, "Police won't do anything, I know the sheriff." So she crossed the line. What she didn't know is the name she kept dropping wasn't a shield, it was a family connection to the very man she targeted. HOA Karen thought she was untouchable. I'm Michael, 67, retired electrician, the kind of guy who still labels his extension cords and returns borrowed tools cleaner than he got them. I live in a neat HOA neighborhood where the lawns are trimmed like military haircuts and the mailboxes all look like they were cloned in a lab. Most people here know me as the garage guy, not because I fix cars, because I restore old coin-op jukeboxes. The real ones, chrome, glass, neon, the kind that used to sit in diners and bars back when people actually dropped quarters for music instead of streaming it for free while arguing on the internet. I don't run a business, it's a hobby, a therapy hobby. Soldering, replacing capacitors, rebuilding mechanisms, cleaning the selector pins, restoring speakers. And when it finally lights up and plays a 50s track like it's alive again, that's magic. My wife, Elaine, loves it as much as I do. Not the wiring part. She likes the result. "Turn it up," she always says, smiling like she's 20 again. And when the song hits, she grabs my hands and we dance in the kitchen like nobody's watching. We keep some jukeboxes for the soul. Sometimes we quietly sell one to a collector. No signs, no ads in the neighborhood, no strangers in our driveway, just a guy with a truck and a handshake. We were invisible. Until Karen got elected to the HOA board. The first time I saw her, she was walking the street like she owned it. Clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, blonde helmet hair, sunglasses that looked like they were permanently judging you. She stopped right in front of my garage while I was cleaning a chrome faceplate. "What is that?" she asked, pointing like she'd discovered a crime scene. "A jukebox," I said. "It's from the 60s. I'm restoring it." She wrinkled her nose. "That looks like a nightclub." "It's a music machine." "And the neon? It's original." Karen snapped a photo. "You're aware," she said, "HOA rules forbid commercial activity." I actually laughed. I thought she was joking. "I'm retired," I said. "This is a hobby." "Then why are there multiple?" She leaned, peering into my garage like she could smell profit. "I restore them," I repeated. "Sometimes I sell one to collectors." Her face lit up, not with understanding, with victory. "Aha," she said. "So you do sell them." "Sometimes," I said, "like any hobby. People sell old guitars. That doesn't make their living room a music store." Karen's smile turned sharp. "It makes your garage a business, and businesses aren't allowed." Then she walked away like she'd just served a subpoena. That night, Elaine found me staring at the rule book online. "Michael," she said gently, sliding a cup of tea next to me, "she can't do that." "I know," I said, "but I also know HOAs." Elaine took my hand. "Whatever happens," she said, "we don't let her steal the music." I promised her we wouldn't. Karen's warning started 2 days later. First, noise complaint. I had tested a restored speaker for maybe 10 seconds at 2 p.m., doors closed. Second, aesthetic violation, because she could see bright lighting through my garage windows. Third, commercial activity investigation. Every letter had that same smug tone, like it was written by someone who enjoyed punctuation more than people. I tried being perfect. I installed weather stripping around the garage door. I hung thick moving blankets inside. I built what I called quiet mode, a test setup that limited the volume and used headphones for tuning. I even emailed Karen directly. "Hi, Karen. I understand the concerns. I've added sound dampening and will only test audio briefly during daytime hours with doors closed. This is a hobby. There are no customers or public traffic. Regards, Michael." She replied 10 minutes later. "Michael, the HOA will determine whether this qualifies as commercial activity. The community standards must be enforced. Karen." It wasn't about noise. It wasn't about neon. It was about control. Karen started patrolling. I'd see her walking slowly past our house, phone up, taking pictures. One afternoon, I opened my garage and found her standing at the edge of my driveway like a gargoyle. "I need to document," she said. "You need to leave," I replied. Karen's eyes widened like I'd slapped her. "I'm HOA." "You're trespassing," I said. "This is private property." She scoffed. HOA rules override that. I blinked. No, I said slowly, they don't. She smiled like she'd caught a child saying something adorable. I know the sheriff, she said. Police won't do anything. I didn't respond, not because I believed her, but because I recognized something important. Karen was the type of person who thought connections were power, and she would absolutely misuse that belief. A week later, Elaine and I picked a date. Our anniversary was coming up, 29 years. Elaine had been talking about one specific jukebox we'd restored together years ago, a beautiful chrome Wurlitzer that used to play in a diner outside town. It had a warm, old sound, imperfect in a way that made it human. I want to dance to it again, she said, eyes soft, just you and me, like the first time. So I started restoring one for her as a surprise, a real showpiece. New capacitors, rebuilt amplifier, fresh wiring, cleaned mech, restored speaker cones, updated safety grounding. Everything. I ordered a rare amplifier board online, one of those parts collectors hoard like gold. Expensive, hard to find, worth more than most people think. It arrived on a Thursday. On Saturday morning, I walked into my garage and froze. My workbench looked like someone had attacked it. The amplifier board was gone. The power supply casing was cracked. A bundle of wiring I'd neatly labeled had been ripped out and cut like someone was mad at it. And the jukebox? It wasn't broken like something failed. It was damaged, like someone had done it on purpose. I stood there, staring, and felt something deep in my chest sink. Elaine came out behind me, took one look, and covered her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered. I turned slowly. The side door into the garage, the one we never use, had scratch marks near the handle, fresh. Someone had been inside. Elaine touched the jukebox glass like she was touching a wound. They did this, she said, voice shaking. And I realized something else. This wasn't Karen sending letters. This was Karen escalating. I called the police. The first patrol car arrived 15 minutes later. 2 officers, young, polite, tired. I showed them the scratches, the missing part, the damaged wiring. "This looks like forced entry," one officer said. Then Karen appeared like she'd been summoned by drama. She marched up my driveway in sandals, holding her clipboard like a weapon. "Oh, good," she said loudly. "The police are here." One officer turned. "Ma'am, are you involved?" Karen flashed the brightest smile. "I'm HOA. There's been ongoing illegal commercial activity here. We've been collecting evidence." My jaw dropped. "Evidence?" I said. "You broke into my garage and stole my parts?" Karen didn't even flinch. "I did not break in. HOA has authority. We have a right to inspect violations." Elaine stepped forward. "You stole his amplifier board," she said, voice trembling with anger. "That was for our anniversary." Karen laughed, actually laughed. "Lady, it's a garage. It's not the Louvre." I looked at the officer. "That part's worth almost $1,000, I said. "And the damage?" Karen cut in. "This is a civil matter," she said confidently, turning to the officers like she was briefing her employees. "HOA enforcement, there's no crime here." The officer's eyes narrowed slightly. "Ma'am," he said, "do you have a warrant?" Karen scoffed. "I don't need one. I know the sheriff. Police won't do anything." She said it right in front of everyone, right in front of the officers. Right in front of my neighbor Ricky, who'd wandered over from across the street holding a coffee mug like he was watching Netflix. The officer's tone shifted. "Ma'am, step back." Karen's smile didn't move. "Call whoever you want," she said. "I know the sheriff." The officers took my statement, but I could tell they were cautious. Without video, it would be her word against mine. They wrote it up, gave me a case number, and left. As soon as their car disappeared, Karen leaned toward me. "You're done," she hissed. "No more nightclub in your garage." Elaine's hands were shaking when we went inside. I sat her down at the kitchen table and took her face in my hands. "I'm sorry," I said. She swallowed hard. "I don't care about the money," she said. "I care that she walked into our home like she owned it." I nodded. That's when I decided Karen didn't need arguing. She needed consequences. That evening, I did 3 things. 1, I documented everything. Photos, timestamps, missing part numbers, serial numbers, receipts, damage estimates. 2, I wrote a formal no trespass notice and sent it certified to Karen and the HOA board. 3, I called Ricky. Ricky's the kind of neighbor who installs cameras the way other people hang wind chimes. Ricky, I said, do your cameras see my driveway? He didn't even hesitate. Michael, he said, my cameras see the moon. We walked outside together and he showed me the angle. His doorbell camera caught the street. His motion sensor camera caught the side of my house, the exact path to my garage side door. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Then I upgraded my own setup, a discrete camera in the garage, a motion sensor, and a little sign on the side door that simply read, "No trespassing, video recording in use." A week passed. Karen didn't stop. She escalated the letters. She started talking to neighbors. I heard her in the street one day telling Mrs. Patterson, he's running a business in there. It's not safe. Wires everywhere. It's basically a fire hazard. Mrs. Patterson looked terrified until she saw me and hurried inside. That was when I realized Karen was building a narrative. So I built a case. I didn't go loud. I went quiet. I kept my garage door closed. I didn't test music. I acted like I was scared. And then I did something Elaine hated at first. I made bait. I placed a clearly labeled box on my workbench visible from the side door window marked amplifier parts, rare, do not touch. Inside, nothing valuable, just old scrap boards and a cheap decoy I didn't care about. But I also placed one thing inside that mattered, a small, harmless tracking tag and a tiny reflective marker that would show up on video. Elaine watched me tape the box shut. I don't like this, she said. I know, I replied, but she thinks she's untouchable. Elaine's eyes hardened, then proved she's not. The very next afternoon, my motion sensor pinged. I was inside at the kitchen table. Elaine was reading. My phone buzzed. Motion detected. Garage. I stood up so fast the chair scraped the floor. Elaine's face went pale. Michael, stay here, I said. I didn't run outside like an action hero. I did exactly what you do when you want a clean pro-revenge ending. I called the police first. Someone's inside my garage, I told the dispatcher calmly. We have active video recording. Then I waited by the front window. Through the blinds, I saw Karen emerge from the side path clutching a box. She looked pleased with herself, like she'd just captured evidence for a documentary. Then Ricky stepped onto his porch across the street, holding his phone up like he was filming a nature special. Karen saw him and froze. What are you doing? She snapped. Ricky took a sip of coffee. Documenting, he said pleasantly. Karen stormed down my driveway toward her car. That's when the patrol car rolled up. Not the same young officers. This time it was an older officer, tall, calm, the kind of man who didn't raise his voice because he didn't need to. His body cam was on. Ma'am, he said, stepping out, put the box down. Karen's smile appeared instantly. Officer, she said, thank God you're here. I'm HOA. This man is running an illegal business. I'm confiscating evidence. The officer's expression didn't change. Did you enter his garage? Karen blinked, then lifted her chin. Yes, she said proudly, I have authority. The officer turned slightly toward my house. Sir, he called, is this true? Did she enter without permission? I stepped out onto the porch, hands visible. Yes, I said, she's been formally served a no trespass notice. She broke in last week too. Parts went missing. Karen laughed like it was all ridiculous. I know the sheriff, she said loudly. Police won't do anything. The officer paused. Ma'am, he said, voice flat, that statement isn't helping you. Karen's smile twitched. She held up the box. I have evidence of his commercial operation. The officer nodded once, set it down. Karen didn't. I'm not giving it to you, she snapped. This is HOA property now. The officer's eyes sharpened. Ma'am, he said, this is a theft investigation. Put the box down, now. Karen glanced around like she expected applause. Then she did the worst possible thing on a body cam. She argued. This is a civil matter. HOA overrides this. I have rights. I know the sheriff. The officer held out his hand. Last warning. Karen's face went red. She finally slammed the box onto the hood of her car like she was making a point. Fine, she snapped. Call the sheriff. He'll tell you. The officer didn't react the way she wanted. He simply looked down at the box, then up at her. Where did you get access to the garage? Karen waved a hand. The side door. He probably left it unlocked. Ricky coughed loudly from across the street. I said calmly, it wasn't unlocked. The officer turned to me. Do you have video? I held up my phone. Yes. He nodded. Show me. I played the clip. Clear as day, Karen slipping down the side path, trying the handle, using something to force it and stepping inside. Then another clip inside the garage showing her lifting the decoy box with both hands. The officer stared at the footage for a long second. Then he looked at Karen. Ma'am, he said, turn around. Karen's mouth fell open. You can't be serious. Hands behind your back. Karen's voice rose. I know the sheriff. The officer's tone remained calm. Then you can tell him about the trespass, theft, and property damage. Karen snapped. Call him right now. The officer nodded once. Sure. Karen lit up, smug again. He pulled out his radio, called in, and requested supervisor review due to her claimed connection. Then he turned to Karen. Ma'am, you can also call him if you want. Put it on speaker. Karen's fingers flew across her phone screen like she was summoning a god. She hit call, held it up proudly, and put it on speaker. It rang twice. A male voice answered. This is Sheriff's Office. Karen practically purred. Hi, this is Karen, HOA Board. There's been an illegal call out at Michael's house. I need you to tell this officer. There was a beat of silence. Then the voice said colder, Karen, follow officer instructions. Karen froze. Excuse me? Follow officer instructions, the voice repeated, flat and official. This call is being noted. Do not obstruct. Karen's smile cracked like thin ice. But I know you. You don't know me in a way that changes procedure, the voice said, and I'm not interfering. If you're being detained, you cooperate. Karen's eyes darted around wildly. Then the voice added the final nail. And for the record, Michael's my brother. That's why I'm not touching this. Other officers are handling it, clean and by the book. Karen's face drained so fast it was almost impressive. Elaine stepped onto the porch beside me, gripping my arm. Karen whispered, That's not possible. The officer gently took the phone from Karen's shaking hand and ended the call. Ma'am, he said, you're under arrest. Karen started crying instantly. Not sad crying, angry crying. This is harassment, she shrieked. This is abuse. HOA will sue you. The officer didn't flinch. He placed her in cuffs, read her rights, and put her in the back of the patrol car. Ricky raised his coffee mug in a silent toast. Over the next few weeks, everything Karen tried to use as power turned into evidence against her. The HOA got served copies of the police report and the no trespass notice. My receipts, serial numbers, and repair estimates backed up the restitution claim. The body cam audio captured her "I know the sheriff" line multiple times. Ricky's camera footage filled in the gaps. The HOA's lawyer called me once. Mr. Michael, he said carefully, the board does not condone Miss Karen's actions. I almost laughed. Then you should put that in writing, I replied. He did. Karen was removed from the board pending investigation. Then suddenly all the HOA letters stopped. Funny how fast community standards disappear when the HOA realizes they could become a co-defendant. In court, Karen tried to spin it. It was HOA enforcement, she told the judge. He was running a business. The judge stared at her. Ma'am, he said, you broke into a locked garage. You stole property. You damaged property. You lied to police. This is not enforcement. This is crime. Karen's attorney looked like he wished he could vanish into the carpet. The judge ordered restitution for the stolen part, the damages, and the canceled collector sale, because, yes, Karen's first break-in had ruined a deal I had lined up. He granted a restraining order, he added community service, and he warned Karen very clearly, if you violate this order, you will go to jail. Elaine and I thought it was over. 2 days later, Karen showed up at my driveway with her clipboard again. Not even subtle. She stood at the edge of my lawn and yelled, I'm documenting violations. Elaine stepped outside and said, voice like steel, Karen, you're under a restraining order. Karen sneered. You can't ban me from a neighborhood. Elaine held up her phone. Watch me. Karen took one step closer. The police arrived in under 8 minutes. The same older officer stepped out, took one look at Karen, and sighed like he'd been hoping to never see her again. Ma'am, he said, you were warned. Karen exploded. This is unfair. This is a conspiracy. I know. He cut her off. Turn around. This time she didn't get the speech. She got the back seat. And yes, she went to jail. Not forever, not some dramatic movie sentence, but enough. Enough time sitting in a cell listening to doors lock, realizing the world doesn't bend because you have a clipboard and an inflated ego. Karen kept saying, "I know the sheriff," like it was a VIP pass. Turns out it was a direct line to her own arrest. And the only thing she successfully shut down was her freedom. And thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.